everything has been turned into like the ant farm feeding system for what? Another trafficking organization, which is these prisons, these private prisons. It's no coincidence that inside of these prisons, the same way Chicago public schools look.
Real life. If this ain't real life, this ain't
If it ain't real life, just ain't real life street stars. You know what time it is.
Right. How do you feel about Trump sending the National Guard to Chicago?
Hmm. This is very interesting to me because something has to happen. Because, you know, this is the most hyper advanced city in the States. Everybody resorts to violence for the smallest altercation, disagreement. You gotta have law and order. Problem is, I remember being in certain situations, and the last thing we was thinking about was pulling over. Right? Then they pretty much got rid of the whole bond system. You feel me? So everybody gets a I bond or own recognizance release now. I just seen guys get caught with switches 4 times. Get out each time. Then once you get an armed habitual, what's that? 11, 13 years at 50%. You back in 5 years. You back in 4.5 years and you got time served. Everything has been transactional. They had turned everything into a business. This is the problem with this system. Studies showed that, let's say a billionaire guy comes out and just decides to pay everybody's legal fees. This would make the system crash because they say it's not even enough lawyers to represent people on each side. Everything has been turned into like the ant farm feeding system for what? Another trafficking organization, which is these prisons, these private prisons. It's no coincidence that inside of these prisons, the same way Chicago public schools look. You go everywhere based off a bail or a siren. Same way in these schools. And they aren't teaching trade craft, they're teaching memorization. Soon as you ask an ID inmate his ID number, they give you this long ID number, all memorization. The program is falling. Something has to be done. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that armed forces and National Guard began with instant shoot to kill orders. That's going to be interesting. You feel me? The murder rate there just too high. Well, you got 40, 50 people getting shot in a weekend. Something's got to be done. It worked real well down in D.C. Looked like it worked well to me. You feel me? Because when you look at the whole grand scheme of things, when I'm traveling around different countries, these governments, when they go into these areas where there are ongoing feuds going on, they call them blood feuds. They have certain allocated resources to typically intervene into these blood feuds to get peace. Because oftentimes, the lex talionis, which means eye for an eye, that is what the law system is being used for. That's what the law system that the locals are going to go by, eye for an eye. We've seen President Trump enter into several areas across the world and get countries to agree to no longer be at war. How would he look as the commander in chief if he did, in fact, not show up here and try to do something? And any opportunity he has to throw shit on Obama, he's going to do it. Look, I showed up to Obama's homeland. I got these guys to end the gang wars. Obama couldn't do that. So you got to keep these things in mind. What's the true motivations?
Right. Yeah, they're gonna have to make robots doing all the killing now. that's
So
that's
look, so you see, Certain universities, to combat active shooters, are all purchasing these armed, militarized kill drones. If you got a mass shooter, they can hit the button. The drones dispatch. They are equipped with firearms on the drone. They finna come nail your way. They call it a real airstrike on you on the gas. That's what's going on. It's coming, man. AI is about to crush the middle class, bro. People need to go into HVAC. They need to go into electrician work, electrical work, because AI needs so much electricity and it needs AC to keep cool to power it. Those sectors are gonna boom. People have to reskill, but the middle class is going to get crushed. There's no way around it. Another reason why I came over here to Africa, because they consider it witchcraft. That it's gonna hit here a lot less. It's gonna be a lot less impactful when it hits here, and it's gonna take a lot longer. So, you know, I want to see it being used to empower humanity instead of making us obsolete. Because the average 9 to 5 worker has a job that a robot can do. They have Chinese factories that are operating completely in the dark. Everything is being built by these robots, solar powered buildings. They have the lights, there's no lights on in the building. Robots don't need light to work. Robots don't have kids. Robots don't got to take a break. Robots don't smoke cigarettes. Robots don't get sick. You see what I'm saying? Robots don't need housing. Robots don't have to go home. The robot can stay right there on the premises. This is another reason why we seen Trump with his tariff war to make these big companies put factories here in the United States of America to make there be a boom of jobs. Simply because if we continue to outsource all of our labor workers, and then the laws against AI are going to be a lot weaker in these other countries. They don't care what they do with people. If it's up to them, all of their workers would indeed be robot workers. So a lot of false narratives are being painted. You see what I'm saying? They say the world overpopulated, but you got several countries that are paying people to come there and have children. Truth is, the birth rate is on a decline in certain DNA strands on this planet. 100,000 years ago, something happened, man. 100,000 years ago, something happened. Humans was able to outcompete 6 other humanoid species on this planet. 7,000 years ago, the white human arrived here, and they traced the location to somewhere in Scandinavia. You know, we got to start to really look at the grand scheme of things if we want a chance to try to have a future for our children's children, I should say. Because it's looking ugly right now, but I'm remaining optimistic, Rook. Shout out Real Life Street Stars for sure.
Uh,
Shout out Reallyfe Street Stars, nigga. Move. Hey.